has been completed off-site, and this week auditors are on-site just to finish up their field work, and we anticipate the audit being completed and filed on time. Last week, the city upgraded our financial and land management software. This will allow it to be more user-friendly, and we had some added features that will help with different departments. One is inspectors and public safety can print citations now electronically, which will help them. Another thing, we are just preparing the building for when we do reopen to the public, and we purchase sneeze guards for all the departments and have put some extra measures in place. Last week, the city was also awarded a $250,000 home grant from DCED. And that funding is going to be used to continue the owner-occupied rehabilitation program. And another thing, just a reminder, in 2 days, we're going to be accepting applications for the Small Business Recovery Assistance Program. So the applications will be from June 24th to July 8th. So we're hoping a lot of small businesses apply to that and that we're able to assist them with some funding. And if anyone has any questions.
No.
Any questions from council for Ms. Melissa? Did Richard have a question? Or? No. Sorry. Okay. Any questions from the media?
Yes. Mary Louise.
Unmute. The name of the grant, I didn't quite get that.
It's a home grant.
At home grant?
Yeah, it's just called, it's HOME capitalized home grant, and it's through DCED. It's a housing program type of fund.
Well, in 2 days, you said there'll be some kind of small business grant available?
Yes, we're going to start accepting applications for our Small Business Recovery Assistance Program.
Oh, Recovery Assistance Program, okay.
Yes.
And how do people, do you get that application, or how do they?
They go online to the Community First Fund. There's a link on our Facebook and I believe on our website for it.
Okay.
Where they go to apply. And it's pretty simple to apply.
All right, thanks very much.
Sure.
Any other questions from media?
Yes. Laura LeBeau.
Melissa, hello. Is that a home grant for first-time home buyers? Is that what that's for?
No, that's going to be for a homeowner occupied rehab. We also have a home grant with the county that we share for first-time home buyers.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think we're good, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions from the public?
No.
Okay, thank you. Melissa, thank you and so much for a wonderful, tremendous job you've been doing. We really appreciate all the time and effort you put in everything you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along on our agenda tonight, we are looking at our first resolution. It's resolution number 11. It's approving the transfer of a liquor license into the city of Lebanon from North Lebanon Township, A&M Amato Incorporated, to 4 J's and a G LLC for the premises at 633, 635 Cumberland Street in Lebanon. Do I hear a motion to adopt resolution number 11?
Yes, I will make the motion to adopt resolution number 11.
Okay, resolution number 11 has been moved. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, resolution number 11 has been moved in second. Mayor, is there anything that you would like to share yet on this? We had a public hearing on this on Thursday. I believe Aaron Airgood is online also. And is there anything he would like to share?
He's not raising his hand, but I'm gonna give him the floor.
Okay.
Ian?
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. I don't have anything to add at this point.
I have nothing to add either, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there any questions on resolution number 11 from council?
I just had a question today. I realized I was thinking about the layout of the building. The second floor, I believe, Is there also a bar space up there? I think that it was used to be utilized by artists for like studio space. So do they have any plans on utilizing the second or upper floors as part of this?
You are correct. There is a second floor space to that area. At this point, they are not sure yet. It is a potential, but again, that's also going to be dependent on what the LCB allows us to do.
So it could extend to that second floor though? if it-
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the media on this resolution?
No,
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the public on this resolution?
no,
Okay, hearing none, Ms. Sherrill, would you please call the roll on this resolution number 11?
Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey.
Yes, resolution number 11 is so moved. Okay. Okay, next up on our agenda tonight is an ordinance bill number 1. And that is adopting the City of Lebanon zoning ordinance, dividing the City of Lebanon, Lebanon County, Pennsylvania into zoning districts with varying regulations, permitting, prohibiting, and regulating the uses of land, water courses, and other bodies of water, the size, height, bulk, location, erection, construction, expansion, raising, removal, and use of structures, the areas and dimensions of land and water to be occupied by uses and structures, as well as in open areas to be left unoccupied, establishing the maximum density and intensity of uses, providing for the administration and enforcement of this ordinance in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code as amended, including provisions for special exception uses and variances to be administered by a zoning hearing board and establishing provisions for the protection of certain natural features. This bill number 1 is on final reading. I would like to make a motion to adopt bill number 1. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I think Joseph was first.
Okay, bill number 1 has been moved in second. Is there any questions on this bill from council?
I just would like to echo what what Chris said, Mr. Miller said about assurance to revising the sections regarding the pawn shops and the bail bonds and then the short-term rentals. That's still on the table, right?
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, would you like to add anything on this bill number 1?
I mean, I'll be very brief. Again, we've worked on it for more than 2 years. Our current zoning ordinance is more than 30 years old. The ordinance and zoning map have been updated on numerous occasions on an as-needed basis, but we haven't had a rewrite. Over the years, new types of uses like Airbnbs have come to light, and our existing ordinance doesn't address for them. And again, in accordance with our early intervention plan and the recommendations from that plan, they had indicated that as an action item, in order to encourage economic development to be more user-friendly, that we should update our zoning ordinance. We put out an RFP, hired Urban Research and Development Corporation. They have a vast amount of experience in working with other cities with their zoning ordinances and comprehensive plans. So we feel that we got a really good guy to help us. And we created a small steering committee. We conducted outreach, held numerous, about a dozen key stakeholder interviews, made sure we talked to the zoning hearing board, the city planning commission, the county planning department, the historical society, to make sure that we got as much input from the different areas as possible. Held a public meeting with our planning commission last November, received a recommendation from the city planning commission in January, received a recommendation from county planning in February, held our public hearing for council just last week, accepted public comment, which actually there wasn't that much of, which I thought there would be more actually, but I think that we did everything in our power to try and get the word out. We had this on our website, on social media, at the Lebanon Daily News, the Law Library. So I believe that we followed the municipality's planning code, and here we are tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I think this is a great step for the city. If we want to continue to keep saying Lebanon's the place to grow, we need to have up-to-date zoning for our city to continue to grow. We need to have up-to-date language that makes things very clear, not so many gray areas and stuff that we've been tacking on for decades with old zoning. So this really moves us up into a really a good position to make our city, just continue to make our city a better and better place. And I thank you for bringing all this about and bringing it together here. Is there any other questions on this bill from council?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Is there any questions on bill number 1 from the media?
Yes, Mary Louise. Oops,
Oh, darn.
there we go. Now we got you.
Got it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, there's protection for certain natural features. What natural features, do you have anything specific in mind when you're talking about natural features?
They're talking about floodplain and like our banks and things like that. Existing topography.
Okay. I didn't know if there's anything that's really ecologically in danger or anything that you're thinking in that way, or it's mostly just to. But I guess that's what I'm asking. If
I mean,
you're particularly concerned about.
no, just the floodplain, and the floodplain regulations that are included in the zoning ordinance have been vetted by FEMA and PEMA. They're actually their kind of standard set of regulations that the state has tweaked a little bit for Pennsylvania, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same for the federal level and the state level. These are regulations that each municipality is required to adopt in order to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. The National Flood Insurance Program is the mechanism that allows for subsidized flood insurance for all the residents in a particular municipality that have floodplain located on their property. It's to give them an opportunity to have insurance for flooding that they can afford. And we are required to adopt these regulations. So it's really important that we have a deadline of July 8th to get those adopted. So when they talk about natural features, I believe that's coming into play with the floodplain regulations, unless Robin, you know of something that I'm not.
No, Mayor, I believe you've covered it. It would include our water tributaries as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Laura has a question as well.
Okay.
Hi, okay. I'm assuming that existing businesses or residences that would have any sort of issues would they be grandfathered, or would they be having to comply just only going forward with new zoning as it may pertain to them?
No, what they would need to do is they would need to obtain a certificate of non-compliance from the city, a certificate of non-conformity, which it recognizes them as being grandfathered. And in cases like Mr. Brown, which I believe you listened to the pre-council meeting on Thursday, so you may be aware of what I'm talking about. And if not, Laura, just let me know. But he had a use that actually was not addressed in the current zoning ordinance, so it was slightly different. Although he had not obtained a permit, and if he would have applied for a permit, we would had to address for that at that time, but the city and every municipality is tasked to address every single type of use virtually, that's available. And our ordinance.
I am not seeing anyone. Do you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, Amy, we hear you.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt. Everything went blank.
So, lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Well,
So
let me,
that's why he had come to the council meeting to inquire into what exactly happens at that point.
right, vis-a-vis the Airbnbs.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Are there any zoning applications that when will this take effect? Because are there any zoning applications that are sort of in limbo right now or would potentially be in limbo with if this ordinance is passed?
No, not that I'm aware of. We've been using the ordinance for the last couple of months, the draft, and looking at applications for permits and potential zoning hearing boards, although they haven't been able to be held because of COVID, and they've been extended per the governor. But I'm not aware of any zoning hearing board cases that would be affected by this either. But our zoning officer has looked at them and done a review based on the current zoning ordinance and the proposed zoning ordinance. So we've kind of been, keeping that in the back of our mind as we've looked at things.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from media?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Is there any questions on bill number 1 from the public? Okay, hearing no questions. Ms. Sherrill, would you please call the roll for bill number 1?
Mrs. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Wertz,
Yes.
Chairman Carey,
Yes. 5 yeas on bill number 1 on final reading. So moved.
Okay.
Okay, now that that concludes the formal part of our council meeting tonight. I would like to just ask 2 questions. Mayor, do you want to bring us up to date on the fireworks program?
Sure. So we had, due to the public asking for us to try and look at ways to hold the fireworks, we put out a GoFundMe, and that was actually at the request of one of the individuals who was posting on our social media post. And so we created a GoFundMe page, and we raised almost $3,000 from that page. Now, a lot of the contributors to that were prior contributors in other years for fundraising for the fireworks, but there were some new people as well, which was nice to see. But most of the money came from when the business community and individuals who gave in prior years, like on a regular basis, when they found out that we were looking to possibly hold the fireworks, although some of them may have been struggling, like I know one business owner in particular reached out to me and said, although COVID-19 has greatly affected my business, I truly believe in showing our patriotic, spirit to our community. And he actually almost doubled his contribution from the prior year. So a lot of the businesses, again, that contributed in past years did come through for us. Although we felt that it was not appropriate to ask them because of the pandemic and the situation, they made it was their freedom to contribute. So that was extremely a great thing. And then in addition, what really made us reach our amount was one single anonymous donator who donated $4,000 to make sure that the fireworks happened.
Wow.
That's what brought us up to the 11,000.
Fantastic. And do I understand, will there be like some media release or whatever, like for like where people can park and such coming up?
So tomorrow we have a planning meeting with the chief and leadership in the police department, fire police, public works, the caretaker from the park. And we'll be sitting down and looking at the whole region and looking at the streets and coming up with a game plan on what exactly we need to do. Like the chief has, something in his head, but we're going to put it down on paper and discuss it as a group and then implement it.
Okay, great. I think the biggest thing to do, since we want to first of all send out a great thanks to everybody that contributed, and by doing so, we also want to remind those of our neighbors to, because of these great people that contributed, let's enjoy the fireworks show that can safely be put off, and remind your neighbors to not to be trying to do their own fireworks show in the neighborhood. Let's keep everything really safe for everybody in the city this year.
Since we're on that topic, I don't want to put the chief on the spot, but I mean, we have received a lot of complaints, especially in the last couple of days, about people setting off their own fireworks. And maybe Dwayne wants to say something as well, but the aerial fireworks are legal in the state of Pennsylvania, but I'll let the chief or Dwayne talk a little bit more about why they're not really permitted in the city of Lebanon. It's mainly because of density and distance. So Chief?
The city ordinance specifically speaks against, I'll put it this way, the city ordinance speaks only of fireworks complying with ground displays as approved by the American Pyrotechnics Association. But the city ordinance does make it clear that only ground-based fireworks are permitted. The ordinance needs to be rewritten. It's kind of vague in my opinion. The state law allowing aerial fireworks in the whole 15 feet from, or whatever it is, I don't pay attention because in the city it doesn't matter. Anything aerial is not allowed. Any kind of fire is no longer, has never been allowed 15 feet of a building or the property line or on someone else's property. The ordinance makes it very clear that on city streets, sidewalks, parks, any public way is illegal for fireworks. And we've seen plenty of aerial fireworks around here, even from my home here downtown. Thought, you see the fireworks go up, and I just muttered to myself, and go ahead and burn half the town down. Those fireworks get nestled up in a dry roof. But aerial fireworks are not permitted by ordinance. The state law does not supersede that ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioner. So Chief, I know you've received some phone calls and emails, more so than other years?
I know that there are, it's similar to last year with what is being reported to us. Some are not being reported to us, and it is important that all fireworks complaints are reported to the police. It gives us an opportunity to try to narrow down the location of where they are being set off. Because of the size of the set off and the distance in the air that they travel, it's increasingly more difficult to find out where they originate from. So the more phone calls we can, hopefully narrow down the source of the fireworks display. With that being said, the mere possession of those fireworks is not illegal. So we must determine who actually physically set off that firework to be able to make an arrest. And if we cannot determine who set off that firework, we cannot make an arrest. And that obviously is frustrating not only to us, but then also to the citizens.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
We just want to encourage everybody in the city to enjoy the show that'll come from Coleman's Park, and to stay safe and be safe for all of our neighbors. Thank you. Mayor, I have one other question, and we touched on this a little bit earlier, but maybe just bring us up to date. And that is concerning the recycling center down on West Lehman Street.
So, because we had to cut, well, first when we closed all city properties when we were in the red. And when we were in the red, we started receiving a lot of phone calls from individuals who we realized were not city residents. And the way things are now with the market, the city has to pay to have the recyclables taken away. We used to make money on selling the recyclable materials, but now it costs money. So we didn't feel that it was fair to our taxpayers to be subsidizing residents from other municipalities. So we determined that when we would reopen in the yellow, that we would only open up to city residents. One, because we thought since it was closed for such a length of time that there would probably be a big uptake in people trying to get into the center. So we thought it would also help with controlling how many people were trying to come to bring their recyclables that they held for such a long time. And so a lot of people were complaining, but again, what we had determined was that they were not city residents, but they were just so used to utilizing it for so many years. So we asked them to get in touch with their own municipality to see, what they may have in place for them. And additionally, it is a requirement, at least in urban areas, it's based on density, for a municipality to have a curbside pickup. And so it's something that a garbage hauler, a refuge hauler is supposed to make available to their customers. And most of them either include it in the already established price, or they charge a very minimal additional fee for the pickup. So it is something that if someone does have a regular garbage collector, and here in the city of Lebanon, because we are a city, it is a requirement to have a garbage collector. It's mandatory. Now, there are a couple of items that we do collect at the recycling center that are not typically picked up by the hauler. So I think that's another reason why some of the people like to use the center. So again, in red, it was closed. In yellow, we opened up to city residents. And what we want to do, because it's only been open up for a couple of weeks and it's only open on a Saturday, because the gentleman that is our employee for the recycling center is of a vulnerable population. So we're also trying to minimize that during the yellow. Once we go green, we're going to have to make a decision on whether we're going to charge non-residents or just keep it to city residents. But at this time, it is open on Saturdays, and we'll be making a decision in the future about how we want to go with it on a permanent basis. But for sure, our residents are being taken care of.
Okay. Are they supposed to get a card or just show their license or what?
Yeah, so all we have to do is call or email to the Public Works Department, and we'll tell us their name and address, and we will confirm they're a city resident and send them a card. So they just need to register. It's pretty simple. They don't need to come in, and we'll mail it to them.
Okay.
And we may be changing this because there are so many people trying to get in on a Saturday, but we were having someone at the gate. Actually, it was poor Robin. She's been working the last couple Saturdays, checking ID and allowing people in and just writing their name down and then mailing them the registration card.
Okay.
But we may have to change that due to the volume.
Thank you, Robin, for going over on Saturdays and helping out. Those were my two questions for the good of the city. Does anyone from council have anything they'd like to share for the good of the city?
I do, Chairman.
Richard?
No,
Let Chris go.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to say that, obviously it's no secret that there's been a great deal of local and national press public comment about the conduct of police, and we had some brief discussion on that on Thursday evening. And I understand how critical it is that we evaluate our protocols and enforce expectations and make sure that we do afford proper training to our force. No one's perfect, and our city and our force aren't any different. We're definitely not without issue, but I would like to commend the chief. Over the last few weeks, I have seen and heard innumerable testimonials praising the conduct of our force. So thank you to you and the entire force for your dedication to our city.
I appreciate that, and I'll make sure I pass that along. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I will follow that up too. Go ahead, Richard. You want to say
Oh,
something?
no. This is minor compared to what you guys are probably having to say.
Okay. Chief, you know what I'm going to say. And I have the greatest respect for you guys as well. You know that we call and you come out and you help us whenever we need it. I have so many people say how helpful and respectful the officers are. And I'm in no way insinuating that we do not have a top-notch force. I believe that we do. But I think it's also, we need, like Chris said, do our due diligence and just ensure that we're reviewing policies and things like that. I don't necessarily want to go through all of the questions that I have here because I just don't think that we need to take the time to do it here. Am I allowed to ask for a meeting maybe with you, Chief and Mayor, to just go through some of the questions that I do have?
Of course.
Okay, I wasn't sure how the protocol worked for that. And then I did ask at the Thursday meeting, Mayor, if I was allowed to have a copy as the council person of the conduct policy just for review. The reason that I want that is not like a gotcha at all. I just want to be able to review it. So if somebody asks me, I can know that I went through it and did my due diligence, and I can understand that I'm communicating effectively and with accuracy that yes, this is in place and this is how we do things and this is taken care of. That's the only reason that I requested.
And what I can give you is what I can release to the public. I cannot give you anything.
My connection's unstable. Can you hear me at all?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, it's telling me that my connection's unstable, of course, right now.
Nope, I hear you.
Okay. It's disconnected.
We can hear you. Did you hear my response?
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, is it storming or something? It must be storming. Okay, sorry to bother, waste everybody's time. So I'm sorry, I can get a copy of it, or what did you say?
I said I can give you what I would be allowed to.
You're cutting out again.
Do you want me to chat it? Do you want me to chat it or can you hear me?
You are cutting in and out. Is it just me?
It must just be you because we hear you.
Yeah.
Can I just talk to you sometime this week rather than bother and waste time with my bad connection?
Yes.
I'll just give you a call if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, now it's better. Oh, geez. All right. Really quick. Let me see. Graffiti at GSH. I can still see that. So if you could maybe contact GSH, that's still visible and it's obscene. The stuff at the county office is good. A couple people had mentioned timely responses as far as asking for meetings. So like, what can I tell people as far as if they ask for a request for a meeting, like they should be hearing in how many days?
A meeting for what?
They were contacting your office for a meeting with you.
But for what? Because the only people, I'm not aware of anyone asking for a meeting except people asking for a public meeting regarding the issues to racial equity or police brutality. And
it must be that then. They didn't tell me what the content was.
So, and I thought I got back to everyone and said that they need to give me a little bit of time because I wanted to go to the workshops through SARC and that I was putting together my commitment to racial equity and that on Thursday, I had talked about how as a part of the 777 plan that was put forth to me, that was something that we would plan on doing. And what I'm proposing to do is to, provide an index of our policies and to kind of talk about what are some of the policies we have in place, hear from the people on what their concerns are, and then go to the next level. But there are so many different organizations and individuals. It would be better just, I think, to meet as a group.
Okay.
And again, with being in the yellow, so I'm trying to, I thought we would be going green last Friday. So I was kind of holding off to see if we went green, but unfortunately we didn't. So that kind of puts a snag in everything as well.
Okay. That's great. I will let them
I mean,
know.
we can do it on Zoom. I just think for something that's this, I think emotionally charged, I would prefer to meet in person. But I
Okay.
mean, if this is gonna go for an extended period of time, then, you know, maybe we'll have to do it by Zoom, but I would much rather have these types of meetings in person.
Okay. One other thing. So in the same vein, sort of along with all of that topic, some people had asked about maybe possible future plans for the city to put on a Juneteenth celebration. I know that there was one that was put on by citizens, and they wondered if the city would be on board with planning something in the future for Juneteenth. I guess similar to what we do with like the arts festival or something like that, but have it more geared toward that topic.
Okay. The city doesn't usually put on events. It's usually organizations and or individuals that do that. And we have no
And
issues
that,
usually.
yeah, that's sort of what I was thinking as well. But again, it was asked, so I just wanted to convey that. So I understand that. Thank you. And then the other thing, okay, now that I have a decent connection, really quick, just so I know, did you say, well, how can you give me the policy?
So I said I can give you what I'm permitted to give by the open records law, but anything involving tactical, I cannot give to you.
Oh, no, that's okay. But as far as just basic conduct, that would be okay. But does
I'm
that
not sure what you mean by basic conduct, but I can. I mean, we can have a separate.
I don't know the difference between tactical and conduct. Maybe Chief does.
Well, tactical is, which is something that's one of Amari's questions, but tactical is when it's the actual means to gain an objective, whereas administrative policy is more what, you know, you lay out the roles, responsibilities, and objectives. Tactical is exactly how do you carry it out to achieve the objective. So I can't issue tactical, and the reason why is because it deals with public safety considerations. And when we say public safety, we mean that could encompass police officer safety, suspect safety, and also safety of the general public.
Okay. Would that be encompassing the 8 Can't Wait initiatives? Is that tactical? So have you heard of the 8 Can't Wait?
I've heard of it, but I
have to have it. I have to have it here in front of me to read it because so let me just ask.
Without having it.
So if would the banning chokeholds or requiring de-escalation or the duty to intervene, would all that be tactical stuff?
I would rather have a separate meeting about this, but I said this on Thursday that this is one of the things I talked about with Brittany. You know, our police policies and training do not and has not included the use of chokeholds and strangleholds as a restraint technique. So I mean,
and that's why I need to, I just need to review it because people are asking me and I haven't seen it. So I don't know how to convey that. Okay. So that's the only reason I'm asking. So, but I will take your word for that, for that one, and then hopefully be able to review the rest. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Richard, you had a question.
Yes. With us still being in the yellow phase, is there this is for Robin, is there a protocol for people to renew their green waste cards? How is that being done at this time?
Currently, people are contacting us at the office. We are emailing where possible the application for them to renew on. Then we make arrangements for the payments, and then we make sure they get their cards mailed out to them. So we're doing as much as we can electronically. We're giving them the options for mailing, emailing, or using the drop box in the parking lot at 8th and Elm. And we're doing the best we can.
Okay, thank you. I understand. Yeah, I was just curious because I've had several people inquire and ask me, and I said, I really don't know. Now, will that change when we go green? Will people be able to come in and actually into the Public Works office?
So We are still waiting for direction from the governor on the green. We have some direction. It may for a period of time still involve like by appointments.
Okay,
But we'll figure that out once we have our notice on going green and what other additional, I guess, criteria that he may have with that.
okay, thank you. And last, and this is just something that was brought to my attention today, that one of the concrete decorative waste receptacles in front of Hack was pushed out into the street, and it's blocking a parking space. It's right under the street light. It looks like there's a chip out of it. And I know those things weigh a ton. So somebody, you know, in their feeling mighty strong time
So
decided, yeah, it's out in the street.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
chief contacted me over the weekend. And maybe the chief wants to give more details on this, but they think they know who did it. The person they believe actually tore out the flowers from like 5 or 6 different pots along Cumberland Street as well.
Oh, nice.
The officer tried to put them back as best as he could, but the Stony Bridge Landscaping noticed it when they were watering the flowers and contacted CLA, who actually does all of that wonderful work for the city. And
Sure.
they were trying to make sure that they could save the flowers. They weren't sure if they could. They believe they may have some damages, and I told them to keep a record of it so that we could put it on as restitution if we are able to determine the person who caused the damage.
Yeah, I know there are some cameras pointed out onto Cumberland Street, and maybe that some of the businesses that have them might be able to come forward, or if the police want to, you know, check cameras. So, but it was just brought to my attention, and I saw it, and I was like, yeah, it's out there. So that's all I wanted to say. So
We've already checked the cameras, and we have some still shots of the person that did it. We are making attempts to try to identify her. We believe we know who it is, but we want to make
her.
It's a her. We want to make confirmation, obviously, with that identification before we can make an arrest. But we believe that we know who that person is, and we'll work towards charges, appropriate charges when we receive an estimate.
Good.
And I have
Thank
to
you.
apologize. I'm sorry, Richard.
No,
I have to apologize because Robin, I was going to call you first thing, and then my first meeting started so early, and I just went through the day and I forgot to ask you to have Steve or someone take a piece of equipment and put that back in place. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for-
Richard.
Thanks for
Sure.
reminding me, Richard. So Laura has a question if no one else on council has a question.
I have something, Mayor. I also wanted to piggyback on Chris's response. Chief Reiner, just to let you know, I've known you for many years, and I wanted to thank you for your heartfelt response on Thursday night. You're a true professional. We go back many years before you were probably just a patrolman. I believe that you're doing an exceptional job as a chief. We have a great department, and I think that's indicative of the policies and the leadership that we have in place. You can look back for many chiefs, and our department has been nothing but professional. The men and women of our police department are to be commended. And again, I think that's indicative of the strong leadership that we have in place and the policies that have been built upon for many chiefs. So keep up the great work that you are doing, and please pass that on to the police officers of the department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will.
And again,
Joe,
I
I'd like to second that too.
as a way to say, Chief, that your guys are not doing a good job. I fully believe that you are, and I appreciate everything you do as well. Thank you.
And Amy, I definitely was not insinuating that as well, just so you know.
Thank you. Okay.
Absolutely. And again, that wasn't, as you had said on Thursday, that was
It's a touchy subject, and I
from
know.
a constituent. So
Yeah.
just to put that out there. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, Chief.
Does anyone else from council have anything else they want to share? Anyone else from council? Okay, then we'll move to the media. Any questions from media?
Laura.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Laura.
Thank you very much. Chief, I also heartily endorse the comments from Councilman Morales and the others regarding the great work that city police do and that you are doing leading them. That being said, I think you ought to get that lady who moved that pot as public service. She ought to put it back instead of getting the works people. I did want when
Laura, we did have an officer try to move that back into place, and he's not a small guy, and he had some difficulty getting it to where it is.
when did she or I guess when did she move that planter into the street? What day was that, or what night was that?
It was, I know the time it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, believe it or not, about 3:05 in the morning, 3:10 in the morning. And we have her on video moving up and down the street. Unfortunately, we didn't catch her. She was there for about 8 minutes. Doing what
Was that on was that Saturday or Friday or Sunday?
I'm sorry, Laura, give me 1 second, okay? Because I want to make sure I don't give you the wrong day. And I believe it would have been Sunday. Would have been Sunday morning.
Okay.
So Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Very good. Thank you. The other question also for you, Chief, I just want to go back to the liquor license transfer to 4 J's and a G. And Attorney Airgood had said last Thursday that under the conditional agreement with the PLCB, one of the things was that the owners have to meet with the chief of police quarterly. Is that just are those meetings just to review incidents or things that have occurred at the bar? Is that what those meetings are for?
It is for that, as well as any suggestions that they may have or that I may have regarding moving forward in their business to make it better. Now they can, as Attorney Airgood alluded to, they can and more than likely will request that be removed as part of the license restrictions, the CLA.
Okay. All right. That is all I have. Thank you.
Is there any other questions from the media?
No.
Okay. Hearing no questions from media, that moves us on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public who signed in that would like to share tonight?
So Amari had asked to talk, so I'm assuming there. He did raise his hand. Okay, Amari, you should be able to.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor, again for taking the time to answer my questions. Actually, you were able to answer a little bit of it.
Excuse me, could he state his address? Council policy for a speaker to state their address, their name and address.
Yes, sir. My name is Amari Abreu. I live in 409 Chestnut Street, Lebanon, PA 17042.
Okay, thank you, Amari.
Thank you, Amari.
Thank you. I'm sorry. With the Zoom, I missed that, and that's just all we always ask everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, as I said, Mayor, you already answered a little bit of my question earlier. I just would like to know if at some point, at least part of the policies for the police, whatever is allowed to be public, if there's any plans for that to happen anytime soon.
So what I was proposing to do, Amari, was because there are a lot of organizations and individuals that would like to talk about these things. So I was going to hold a meeting and then give everyone an opportunity to talk about them. Now, if it looks like, hey, the yellow's gonna last, longer than we thought, then maybe we'll just schedule a Zoom meeting. But I really wanted to do it in public, but together, person to person, but maybe we won't be able to do that. I just thought it would be easier to talk that way and to share documents and things, but we can do it on a Zoom meeting. So maybe that's just how we'll have to do it. I wanted to kind of go back, if you don't mind, because one of your questions was, what criteria decides what policies should be made to the public. So you had brought up about the Freedom of Information Act. Well, actually, each state has its own policy, and in Pennsylvania, it's called the Pennsylvania Right to Know Law. And that governs what records can be disclosed. And that's the agency that the Office of Open Records is the agency that actually administers that law. And they determine what policies may be disclosed and which ones are not open, I guess you could say. And so when I was talking a little earlier about administrative policies versus tactical policies, those would be the ones where those aren't necessarily public because it could put the public safety in jeopardy or the police officer safety in general, or even the suspect in danger. If they know ahead of time what the policy is, you know, they may decide to flee rather than, so just for public safety in all areas. That's why some of those things regarding tactical are not public. But other than that, most things, not everything, but most things are open. And you can go online and read the law for what is open and what, there are very limited exceptions to the law, but it spells them out in that law in particular.
Yeah, no, and thank you for answering that. But again, my question is if there's any plans at some point, and I understand that you're planning on having a meeting with the public. I haven't seen any information being released in Lebanon about a potential meeting happening. I can say that based on many conversations that I've been having, a lot of people are really intrigued to really know what policies are in place right now for the local police. I do understand that there's some aspects of it that probably are not going to be able to be shared. I think that makes total sense. But whatever is able to be shared at some point, I would like to be able to know if there's any time frame for this.
Okay.
But I think with your answer, I'm gonna take your answer as that you're planning on doing a meeting, so I'm not gonna bug you more with that. I have another question though, really quick, about.
Let me just say, if I may, Amari, let me just say one thing. So what we can do in the meantime, because first of all, only one person I'm aware of has actually put in a right to know request, and we're actually working through that. But if someone put in a right to know request, we have 5 days to either issue the record or state that we have to get a legal review of that before we release it. So that's something that is in place and has been in place since that law went into effect. What we can do is I can at least put the index that says the name of each individual SOP so that you have an idea of what the policies are. And then if someone wants a copy of it, and if they don't want to wait for the meeting, they can put in a right to know request. Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good. My only question really quick, and I don't know if that falls into what we're already speaking on, but I would like to know, are there productivity goals concerning to our local police when it comes to tickets and stuff like that?
Is there a what, Amari? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Productivity goals.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, you're
That's
welcome.
all for me.
Okay.
Sorry, really quick to piggyback. When you said that you would post the SOPs, would that be like online on the website?
We can post that on the website, like an index of what the policies are.
Okay, that's great.
And then if someone's interested, they can put in a right to know request, and then we can review it to see if there's anything tactical in it. And if not, we'll release it. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions or from the council for the good of the city? Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Pam, is she still with us tonight? Does she have anything she'd like to share?
Pam, I unmuted you if you'd like to.
Thank
you
for coming tonight. We appreciate your attendance very much.
And Chris Coyle has not said anything. I don't know if Chris wants to talk.
No, I'm just listening, but thanks for asking.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you all. Okay, hearing no more, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
have a wonderful evening.
Hi,
Thank
everybody.
you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Same to you.
Yeah.
Night, everyone.
Auf Wiedersehen.